Right, rule of the square. So every now and again in this Dvoretsky endgame manual, I mean, you've got it to the top left of the screen, but there it is, Dvoretsky's endgame manual, which is an extremely hard book in my view. It's a really, really tough book to go through, as I said in a previous video. But every now and again it will just sort of jump into something you're like, yeah, I think I know that, it's like, which is, it seems like it's ridiculously patronising. Like, yeah, I think I know the rule of the square, and you don't really need the rule of the square, do you? You could just sort of count. So, for example, in this particular position, if it's this a pawn trying to promote, we know it's 5 moves for white to get a8 equals queen. So white's 4th move is going to be that. So if black responds with 1, 2, 3, 4, black can catch the pawn. But I mean, here's the square of the pawn. It's sort of like, so yeah, as long as the black pawn can get in that square of that pawn, then the black king, sorry, then yeah, it can stop. You don't really need the rule of the square particularly. And you think, do we really need the rule of the square? Like, I think I know that. I'm in the middle of, all these other things, the Reti idea, the floating square, corresponding squares, sort of mental positions that have been sorted out by, grandmasters in a corresponding square situation or whatever, and all of a sudden it's just like the rule of the square. I think I know the rule of the square. So yeah, we all know the rule of the square, but then there's just a tiny little bit extra in Dvoretsky on just this one particular position here, first of all, of things you can do to sort of disrupt that rule of the square. So I've always sort of probably just given it away anyway, but yeah, pause the video and have a go at coming up with a result here for white, basically. So yeah, we've already seen if you push the a pawn, this black king is going to get very happily to b7. So the winning move is d5. And all of a sudden, black's forced to block their own path to b7. Black has to deal with that, because if black doesn't deal with that, we're playing d6 and we're queening. So black has to take it. And this a pawn is now queening. What could black even try? I suppose they could try and push the d pawn, but you're just going to bring your king to d1. So if it goes d4, obviously we've got to push the a pawn. What can they try here? If they play d3, we're just going to play king e1. Can they do anything at all? King e3, do I even need to do anything there? I mean, king e1 would win, but do I have to play king? I don't even think I have to play king e1. I think I just play a6 there, because what black either has to step in front of their own pawn or play d3, and then you play king e1. So it's like trivially won once you found this first move, d5, and you've blocked the black king stopping that a pawn. White queens and wins. So yeah, the rule of the square, very patronising. We don't need a video for the rule of the square, and you could say, oh yeah, and there's that also almost trivial extra position that we get there, where we can it just sort of gives us another idea, another thing to think about in the chess game. As we've got the rule of the square, can you basically mess up your opponent's getting into the square by filling their square with rubbish? So there you go. You've now got some rubbish in your square, so you can't just freely move around your square. So that's that position. But then we've got a couple of absolutely mental positions that are both studies, both by the same guy, both from 1913, and very, very similar. This first one's in the Dvoretsky Endgame Manual. I'm pleased to say that I got it. I was very pleased that I got it. And yeah, I mean, pause the video, spend a while on it. You know what the theme is, so it's fairly obvious what White's winning plan's going to be. But there's a lot going on, and just to give you a hint, you've got a lot of rubbish that you need to put into your opponent's square so that they can't move freely in it. That's a hint. Yeah, pause the video and have a go at it. So the first thing is you've got to play f6. That's the first bit of rubbish you've got to put in your opponent's square. Just block their path over there. It's the a pawn we're going to be promoting, by the way. That's the fairly clear thing that we're going to be doing. Oh, by the way, if you just push the a pawn straight away, then you're going to get checkmated. Oops. So yeah, king g3, and this is going to march down and checkmate you, basically. So yeah, don't do that. And on a similar note, by the way, you had to check when you played f6 what happens if black just ignores it and just puts their king on g3, and they're going to checkmate you. Well, you've got a couple of options. One of them's fairly clear. We can take and then queen with check. That's completely winning. Even f7, in fact, I just cheated and looked at the engine, was also winning. So f6, black has to deal with that, and they have to take it. Now, if you don't take this g pawn, you've had it, because black's playing king g3 next move. So you've now got to sort of waste a move, if you like, playing king takes g2. At which point, black's going to start moving, and black's hopefully realised the danger of this a pawn promoting, and they can move this king across. And then we're going to go a4. I don't think it matters particularly if black slows you down here, but let's just say that black takes just to try and slow you down, and then they're going to try and get their king across. We keep pushing, a5, king e5. Now this is the bit you needed to sort out. You have to push the right pawn. If you push the c pawn, then bad luck. Black will just play d6, and they can then take your pawns as they get to b7. So you can't push the c pawn. You had to sort of see in the starting position. I say you had to see in the starting position because it's kind of one of those ones where if you don't do this, you're screwed anyway. So you may as well go sort of all in on trying to promote the a pawn. But pushing the d pawn wins. What can black do here? I mean, I suppose if they take, then we push the c pawn. So we're completely blocking the black king. The black king cannot get. Those are the black king's two routes to b7 in time, and they just can't get there in time. That's the 1, 2, 3 moves to b7. Anything else is more than 3 moves. So you've just played d6 and c6 to block it all. It's just fantastic, isn't it? It's really good stuff. And now white wins. There's not really anything else to check there. What else? What if they played c6 here? That's fairly clear. The a pawn's just sort of free to promote. Is there anything else? I don't think there is there? That's it. They could try, well, like I was going to say, they could try king here, but not really. We're just going to take on, oh, not going to do that. We're going to take on c7. So yeah, brilliant. f6, and then you've got to play king takes g2. Has black got anything else pushing the f or the h pawns? I don't think so particularly. We can sort of easily just, if they push the f pawn, our king will eventually end up on f1, probably when the white pawn's somewhere around here before they even start pushing the h pawn, and vice versa for the h pawn. So yeah, f6 followed by king takes g2. So that was in the Dvoretsky book. And I was then sort of going through this book, which I strongly recommend. So I'm trying to get out of the way of the microphone as well as show you this book. This is 100 Endgame Studies You Must Know. I disagree with the You Must Know, but I would call it 20 to 60 endgame studies that are really good fun and have transferable skills, plus another 40 that are just mental and probably only useful to puzzle fanatics. But that doesn't scan as well. So that's why Jan Timmer went for 100 endgames you must know. So you must know these 100 endgame studies. I'm not sure why you must know them, but apparently you must. Anyway, I got to, I think it's number 21 in the book. And it looks like this. And I remember when I was leafing through the book, I was thinking, oh yeah, I remember doing this. It's the same. That's the study I saw in the Dvoretsky book on sort of And this is my own terminology now, but just sort of filling my opponent's square with rubbish so they can't sort of freely move around it. But it's slightly different. It's a slightly different. If I go back to the original study, you can see that the same guy set them up, but they're very slightly different. So I mean, it's fairly obvious what we're going to be doing again. It's the A pawn that's going to be promoted, and you've got to try and block the Black King's path to B7, I suppose. There isn't a G2 pawn and counter checkmate threats going on, but there's a lot of stuff that needs doing. So and what's really entertaining about this is that I notice, rather than just saying it's completely winning, the engine gives this as plus 1.3. So it's beyond, that's at depth 22. So it kind of hasn't seen the win yet. I don't even know what the plus 1.3 means. But you might find it good fun to pause the video and have a go at solving this to white to play and win. So it kicks off with G6. And I don't think it matters particularly what black uses to take there. They have to take it. They can't move backwards with the king. If they don't take it, they move one of the two attacked pawns, you'll just take the other one. And if they play king h6 to defend h7, you'll just take on f7 and queen. So they have to take it. If they take it with the f pawn, we're going to play f6. If they take it with the h pawn, we're going to play f6. So let's just take it with the f pawn. It's the same thing either way around. It doesn't really matter because in this position again, black can't defend g7. They've got to take, because this attempt to defend, you just play f7. And this one here, I suppose here they can defend g7, but then you just sort of ignore that side of the board and get on with the secondary part of the plan over here, because that king is now stuck on h6 for another 2 moves, isn't it? Because black's next move would have to be to either take that pawn or go the really long way around to b8, and still have to waste a move at some point, because otherwise white would take there when the black king gets to f8 or something. So black is going to have to waste a move taking it anyway. So black's best off really just taking with the f pawn and then taking again and then saying, right, never mind all that. All right, you've put some rubbish in the way of me getting that way to b8, but I can still sort of come this way. And now white's got to play. You've got to play a very important move here. If you play b3, you'll mess it up. Okay, b3 just throws away the win and completely loses, because black just plays b4. And black has an easy win for black. So you've kind of got to waste a move, annoyingly, to stop b4. And then, yeah, I mean, the engine, that's very interesting. The engine went to 0 there, and now it's changed its mind back up to plus 3.4. It's kind of really, I mean, I got this position, so I'm kind of quite chuffed that I got a position that the engine's struggling with. King g5, the black king's going to make its way, trying to get to b7, doing something. You know, black's realised that we're promoting this a pawn. We carry on trying to promote that a pawn. Let's keep moving across with king there. a4, we might see a takes and a takes, king to e5, and then it's exactly the same as the previous puzzle, that you play d6, and if black pushes the c pawn, then that a pawn just marches to victory. Black can't do anything else, they have to take, and then you play c6. Black has to take again, and once again, I mean, like I say, it's the same as the previous puzzle. Black needs to get to the b7 square in the next 3 moves, and there's all this rubbish in the way where they can't get to b7 in the next 3 moves. I suppose the only other thing to check is, after takes, maybe back in this position, did we have something? Could black try a pawn move here, particularly? An engine's giving c6, but I suppose interestingly, if we wasted time on that, just on that one, does that do anything? No, that's still completely winning. What about d6? Because remember, in that other puzzle, we can take these pawns en route to b7, So d6, we're going to takes a4. Okay, yeah, the problem is that black's just not in time. So it's okay. There is a path now to get to b7, but black's wasted a move, if you like, setting it up. That was it, yeah, because before we pushed c6 in that other position, and then they played d6 in return, and the path was clear for their king. Whereas this time they've tried to initiate something with d6, so they've lost a move there. So it just doesn't work. I reckon that study out of the Jan Timman book is possibly a bit easier, because what else would you do other than g6? I suppose you might try this. Let's just show how this fails. We have to play a3 again, otherwise black plays b4 in response to b3. And here, I was going to say, can we take on f5? Now, taking on f5 is the same problem, actually. So yeah, you did have to create this rubbish at the start here, because now black's winning move would be king f6. So let's just play that one out, and we're going to get there. Oh, just press some funny button on my computer. There you go. So we did have to do that. I mean, once you know it's a study, and you think, well, I'll play a3, you kind of know that's not the solution, because what are all these pawns doing on the board if it's just that? So you know you have to do something with the kingside pawns. Sort of a bit of a lateral thinking with studies in a game of chess. Obviously, you don't know. It's white to play and win. That's half the battle, isn't it? Anyway, that's the rule of the square. Not much to it. We all know the rule of the square. It's very patronising, but it does come with it. Once you sort of know the rule of the square, this idea of filling that square with rubbish so that it messes up your opponent's being able to use the rule of the square, it gives rise to these, I'd say, pretty cool positions. Yeah, I hope people enjoyed that.